The Hungaroring, August 13th, 1995. The air is stagnant, heavy with the oppressive, suffocating heat of a Central European summer. It is a cauldron of dust and dry grass, where the sun beats down relentlessly on the asphalt until it shimmers with a mirage of heat haze. On the side of the track, a Footwork FA16 Formula One car has ground to a halt. Smoke, thick, acrid, and gray, is billowing from the rear of the machine, the universal signal of a Hart V8 engine that has decided to vomit its internals onto the tarmac. The driver, a young man from Kobe, Japan, named Taki Inoue, is frantic. He is not fighting for the lead. He is not fighting for points. He is fighting for the survival of his career. In the brutal economics of 1990s Formula One, a burnt chassis isn't just a mechanical failure, it is a financial catastrophe that could bankrupt the team and end his racing life instantly.
He scrambles out of the cockpit, his heart hammering against his ribs, adrenaline flooding his system. He sees the small flames licking at the engine cover. He needs a fire extinguisher. He needs it now. He spots the marshals. They are slow, perhaps too slow for his liking. In a moment of panic and determination, he decides to take matters into his own hands. He runs to the barrier, grabs an extinguisher himself, and turns back towards his smoldering car. He is the hero of his own disaster, running onto the grass to save his machine. He is focused entirely on the fire. He doesn't look left. He doesn't look right. And then, impact. It happens in a blur that is both terrifying and slapstick. A Tatra 613, a heavy, boxy, Soviet-era medical car, arrives at the scene with the grace of a runaway train. The driver, perhaps misjudging the grip on the grass, or perhaps blinded by the smoke, does not stop in time. The front bumper of the sedan slams into the back of Taki's legs.
The force lifts him off the ground. He pirouettes in the air, a ragdoll in a white racing suit, still clutching the fire extinguisher like a weapon, before crashing down onto the hood of the very car that was sent to rescue him. He collapses onto the grass, clutching his leg, while the fire in his F1 car continues to burn. It is the most absurd, unbelievable, and painfully ironic moment in the history of the sport. A driver, surviving the dangers of racing at 200 miles per hour, laid low by a rescue vehicle doing 30. If you want to know all about this and other F1 stories, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now. To understand why Taki Inoue is a legend, albeit a legend of a very different kind, we have to journey back to the chaotic, colorful, and largely unregulated world of mid-1990s Formula One. This was an era before the hyper-sanitized corporate polish of today. It was a time of V12 engines screaming at 16,000 RPM, of tobacco money flowing like water, and of grid sizes that allowed for a wide disparity in talent and machinery. It was a time when if you had a super license and a briefcase full of cash, preferably yen in Taki's case, you could find yourself strapped into a rocket ship on Sunday afternoon. Taki Inoue was not a bad driver in the conventional sense. You do not reach Formula One by being unable to drive. He had raced in Japanese Formula 3. He had competed in International Formula 3000. He knew how to handle a racing car. But in the shark tank of F1, he was swimming with megalodons like Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, and Jean Alesi. Inoue was what is politely known as a pay driver, a pilot whose primary contribution to the team is the sponsorship budget he brings, rather than raw, blistering lap times. Driving for the Footwork Aeros team in 1995, Inoue was under immense pressure.
And unfortunately for Taki, he seemed to have been born under a star so unlucky it was practically a black hole. He became known not for his overtakes, but for a bizarre magnetic attraction to safety vehicles. Before we even get to the heat of Hungary, we must discuss the prelude to the disaster. The 1995 season had already provided a glimpse into the cosmic comedy that surrounded Inoue's career. It was Monaco, the jewel in the crown. The streets of Monte Carlo are dangerous, unforgiving, and narrow. During a practice session, Taki's car had stalled. It was a standard mechanical issue, nothing to write home about. He was sitting in the cockpit, helmet on, waiting for the tow truck to haul him back to the pits.
In most universes, this is a boring procedure. The truck hooks you up, drags you back, and you go for lunch. But in Taki Inoue's universe, the laws of physics and probability operate differently. The safety car for the Monaco Grand Prix that year was a Renault Clio Maxi, driven by the legendary French rally driver Jean Ragnati. Ragnati is a master of car control, a man who can make a car dance on a pinhead. But on this day, the rally legend got it wrong. As Ragnati blasted through the swimming pool section, pushing the little Renault to its limit just for the fun of it, he came across the scene of the stalled Footwork being towed. He couldn't stop. The Renault Clio slammed into the back of Inoue's F1 car. The impact was significant enough that it flipped the Formula One car upside down. Imagine the scene. You are sitting in your car, the engine is off, you are being towed at walking pace, and suddenly you are upside down, hanging by your seatbelts, staring at the asphalt, wondering what on earth just happened. Taki was rushed to the hospital with a concussion. He had managed to crash, or rather be crashed, without the engine even running. It was a sign, a warning from the racing gods that 1995 was not going to be his year. But Taki, to his eternal credit, put his helmet back on. He recovered. He returned to the cockpit. He pressed on. And that resilience leads us back to the Hungaroring in August. The Hungarian Grand Prix is known for two things, being impossible to overtake on and being incredibly physically demanding due to the heat. It is a tight, twisty circuit, often called Monaco without the walls. There is no time to rest. You are constantly turning the wheel, fighting the G-forces, sweating gallons of fluid into your fireproof suit.
On lap 13, Taki Inoue's race came to an abrupt end. The Hart engine in the back of his Footwork FA16 gave up the ghost. It wasn't a catastrophic explosion, but a mechanical seizure that dumped oil onto the hot exhaust headers. The car coasted to a halt on the grass verges of the circuit. Now, we must analyze the psychology of the moment. A modern F1 driver, when their car breaks down, follows a strict protocol. They engage neutral, they turn off the electrical master switch, they remove the steering wheel, and they casually hop out. They know that a team of highly trained marshals will arrive within seconds. They know the car is insured, or at least the budget is secure. Taki Inoue did not have that luxury. He saw smoke, he saw fire, and in his mind, he didn't see a safety hazard. He saw millions of yen burning away. He saw his mechanics having to rebuild a chassis that was charred and useless. He saw the disappointment of his sponsors. Panic is a powerful motivator.
It overrides self-preservation. The onboard cameras captured the initial moments. Inoue jumps out of the car. He gestures frantically to the marshals stationed behind the barrier. They seem lethargic, perhaps weighed down by the heat, or perhaps underestimating the severity of the fire. Taki cannot wait. He waves his arms. He points at the smoke. Fire! Fire! His body language screams. When the marshals don't move fast enough, Taki decides to be the hero. He sprints to the barrier. He doesn't wait for them to hand him the extinguisher. He practically wrestles it from the station. It is a heavy, industrial cylinder. He lugs it back towards the car. This is the critical variable, the safety car, or rather, the medical car. In 1995, at the Hungarian Grand Prix, the medical response vehicle was a Tatra 613. For those unfamiliar with Eastern European automotive history, the Tatra is a beast.
It is a large, rear-engined, air-cooled luxury sedan manufactured in the Czech Republic. It looks like a limousine designed by a brutalist architect. It is heavy, it has poor visibility, and it handles like a boat in a storm. The driver of the Tatra was rushing to the scene. His job was to get the doctor to the driver as fast as possible. He saw the smoke, he saw the parked F1 car. What he did not calculate for was the erratic movement of the driver. Taki, focused entirely on the flames licking the engine cover of his Footwork, stepped backward onto the grass, directly into the path of the oncoming Tatra. The collision is visceral. Even in the grainy, standard-definition footage of 1995, you can feel the impact. The Tatra hits the brakes, the nose dives, but the momentum is too great. The bumper catches Taki just below the knees. The physics of the human body meeting a moving car are unkind. Taki's legs are swept out from under him.
His upper body, still carrying the momentum of his previous movement and the weight of the fire extinguisher, whips forward. He slams onto the hood of the car, face first, then rolls off onto the grass. For a second, there is stillness. The fire in the F1 car crackles. The Tatra engine idles. Taki lies on the ground. It looks horrific. It looks like a career-ending, perhaps life-ending injury. But then, Taki Inoue moves. He scrambles up. The adrenaline is so high that he initially tries to get back to the car, still pointing at the fire, as if being run over was merely a minor annoyance, a distraction from the main task of saving the child. It is only moments later that the pain registers. He collapses again, clutching his leg. The scene is a masterpiece of chaos. The marshals finally arrive and spray the car with foam. The doctor jumps out of the Tatra, the very car that just assaulted the patient, to check on him.
Taki is writhing in pain, not from the crash at 180 miles per hour that he avoided, but from a parking lot accident on live television. He was taken to the medical center, battered and bruised, but miraculously without any broken bones. He had escaped serious injury, but he had not escaped the cameras. The replay was shown around the world. It became an instant classic of the bloopers genre. In an era before YouTube, it was the clip that made it onto every world's wildest sports moments VHS tape. The aftermath in the paddock was a mixture of concern and stifled laughter. It was impossible not to laugh at the absurdity of it. Formula One is supposed to be the pinnacle of precision. It is supposed to be the highest level of execution. And here was a driver being mowed down by the safety crew. It was slapstick comedy in a billion-dollar arena. For many drivers, this would have been a badge of shame. It would have been the moment that defined them as a failure, a joke.
And for a long time, Taki Inoue was treated as such. He was the punchline of Formula One, the man who was flipped over by a safety car and run over by a medical car, the man who couldn't catch a break. But time has a funny way of changing perspectives, and this is where the genius of Taki Inoue truly lies. Most drivers who wash out of Formula One disappear. They hide from their lack of success. They become bitter. Taki Inoue did the opposite. With the advent of social media, Taki reinvented himself. He didn't run from the world's worst driver. He embraced it. He hugged it tighter than he hugged that fire extinguisher. On Twitter, Taki Inoue became a sensation. He proclaimed himself the worst F1 driver ever. He posted videos of his own crashes. He made fun of his own lack of speed. When a modern driver made a mistake, Taki would tweet, "Don't worry, you are still faster than me." He transformed his tragedy into comedy. He realized that while he might not have been a champion on the track, he could be a champion of entertainment. He understood that fans don't just love winners, they love characters, they love humanity. And there is nothing more human than stepping out of a high-tech spaceship and getting hit by a clunky old sedan. The incident in Hungary became his calling card. He monetized the memory. He gave interviews where he laughed about the pain in his leg. He analyzed the technique of his fall. He turned the darkest moment of his career into a source of light and laughter for a new generation of fans who weren't even born when the Tatra hit him. In retrospect, the legacy of Taki Inoue is not one of failure. It is one of survival. He survived the treacherous politics of F1, he survived the dangerous cars of the 90s, and he survived the attempts of the safety vehicles to assassinate him.
Today, when we watch the ultra-professional, seamless operation of a Grand Prix, where the safety car is a high-performance Mercedes or Aston Martin, driven by a professional racing driver, and the medical extraction teams are drilled like special forces, we should spare a thought for 1995. We should remember the heat of Hungary. We should remember the smoke. We should remember the image of a lone warrior, a man trying to save his team's money, running onto the grass with a fire extinguisher, only to be met by the grille of a Czechoslovakian limousine. It serves as a reminder that no matter how much technology you have, no matter how much money is spent, Formula One is ultimately a chaotic, unpredictable circus of human error. Taki Inoue may never have stood on the podium, he may never have sprayed the champagne, but he achieved a form of immortality that few world champions can claim. He is the man who fought the track, and the track fought back, literally.
He is the medical car magnet, and in the grand, serious, often self-important history of Formula One, he is the jester we didn't know we needed, the man who reminds us that sometimes you just have to laugh when life runs you over.